Hey, what's up? So I posted the video yesterday, and a lot of people commented on it, watched it. Seems like it had some positive effect. So, as promised, I said that I would make more and get into a little bit more of my story as I go along here. Um, and I'm also going to include coming up a couple of other people that I have been in sobriety groups with that have similar experiences, but also very different, to try to give some different perspective on some things. So the topic today is alcohol kills. I know that that sounds very dramatic, but let's face it, it's true. Um, I know that you probably know somebody that has been drinking for years, has a six pack or a 12 pack every single night, and they're fine, and that's great, I guess. But the fact of the matter is that's not the norm for people that drink to excess. And also, just to be clear, this is not directed at those of you who can every Friday night when you get off, you have a glass of wine with dinner, or maybe even nightly, or a couple of drinks on the weekend, and that's it. One of the normal people out there. This is directed at those who drink to excess, that have a problem, whether they've admitted it or not. And if you're watching videos like this, then this probably applies to you. But either way, I mean, the fact of the matter is, it's not good for you. It's a poison. So, I mean, alcohol kills, right? But no, the point of this is more that it does kill. I mean, there's the obvious factor of if you look up statistics of DUI crashes every year that result in a fatality. I mean, I don't know the exact number, but I mean, unless you live under a rock, you know that there is a lot of them. There's a lot of alcohol-related deaths in general, all sorts of incidents that if the person had not been intoxicated, they'd probably be alive today. Suicide is one of the big ones that comes to my mind first. I have lost a lot of people I know. I could easily name off 10 names without trying to think too hard, of people that took their own life. They were struggling with mental issues for sure, depression, PTSD, things of that nature. However, they probably would not have, and I know them personally enough to know that alcohol was definitely a factor in their decision making at the time when they took their own life. Had they had a clear head, I think that there definitely would have been a different outcome. But aside from killing you physically, it kills relationships. I personally lost a lot of relationships and did a lot of damage over the years that were a result of drinking. Sometimes in as little as one incident, I said things or did things that I normally would not have done, and alcohol was the primary factor in those incidents, and then the loss of those relationships, some of which, after a lot of hard work, I have been able to rebuild, some of which just never will be the same. And that's unfortunate that I allowed alcohol to influence my life that much, and it took so much more than losing relationships for me to realize and wake up and say, man, I need to make some changes in my life. It kills jobs, productivity, in employees who drink a lot is definitely lower. If you get to a point like I was, where you're calling in sick a lot, you end up getting fired. I know plenty of people personally who have had alcohol-related incidents on the job and off the job that have cost them their job. So, it can definitely be a job killer. It costs a lot of money, so it kills your bank account. Go to a sporting event, and spend $12, $14 at some of them at our local stadiums for a beer. That's really expensive. I don't know, maybe I'm different, but in hindsight, I don't know of any time that I can say, wow, that beer or two I had at a stadium, man, that really just made the experience so much better. It was so worth the $30 in beer that I had and two beers to make that experience so much better. It's just non-existent. And even the people that have a few drinks here and there casually, realistically, what is better about your life with that you just can't live without? I don't know. I'm not saying there's anything inherently wrong with alcohol. I don't think that there is. And like I said, for the normal people out there, I just want to be clear that I'm not criminalizing, demonizing alcohol for those of the population that don't have an issue with it. By all means, live your life and do your thing. If it's not affecting you or others negatively, then it's probably not an issue. One of the biggest killers that I see is it kills mental health. So getting into a little bit more of my story, I started drinking probably 15, 16, somewhere in that age range. It was the cool thing to do, and it was fun. I liked the feeling I got when I was drunk, and so I drank when I was out with friends of mine, or it was a good time, so I thought. And that's kind of how it starts for most people, I think. But as time went on for me, it became more of an escape. I started dealing with different issues labeled as depression and PTSD and things like that, and I knew by experience that I could drink to feel better about it, and or to forget about it, or whatever. And I quickly turned that into an excuse, and I know this is a common theme amongst people that have problems with alcohol, is you start to make excuses to drink. You drink because you had a good day. You drink because you got a promotion at work. You drink because you had the loss of a friend. You drink because whatever, your dog died. There's always a reason, and after a while you start using other people's pain. Well, I know somebody that's going through a rough time. I know somebody that lost their kid, and you start making excuses for yourself. I'm going to go get drunk because my neighbor lost their child or something. I don't know. You start making excuses all the time. There's always a reason. As you go down that road, if you start to see that in yourself, then it might be time to be honest and say, hey, maybe I have a problem. So as I progressed from it being just fun to being an escape, there were a lot of people that told me that I needed to slow down, at least, or that I was following in family members' footsteps who were alcoholics, and that was going to be me. Like most people that have any sort of alcohol or other addiction, I said, well, that's not going to be me. I can stop anytime I want. It's not a problem. Yeah, last night I had too many, but that's not normal. And I can I'll just quit when I'm ready to, but I'm not ready to. I'm okay right now. I'm just having fun. And things got more and more serious. Relationships were really starting to take a hit more and more often. And so there were a few times that I did stop for a while. Probably the longest stretch, I went 10 months. I didn't drink a drop. And then I fell into probably one of the most fatal traps that a alcoholic can fall into, is that after that 10 months, I started to lie to myself. Common theme, that goes back to my first video. And I believed that well, hey, I can stop for 10 months. Obviously, I have it under control. I don't have a problem. I just needed to cut back a little bit, right? And the problem is when you stop and you start convincing yourself that, yes, you have it under control, every time you start again, it gets harder and harder to quit. I had people tell me this, and for whatever reason, I didn't listen. They were people that had been down the same road or a similar road, and I thought somehow I was different. I was the one that was going to break the odds. No, I really do have it under control. Look at me. You know, these guys don't know what they're talking about. And so what ultimately ended up happening is I went out for dinner one night, and you know, I had a beer with my steak, and that was probably the worst thing, because yeah, I just had one that night, and I got home and I was proud of myself. I said, look, I can just have one. I mean, clearly I don't have a problem. I've got this all under control. But the problem is that gave me a false sense of confidence, and it probably was within 2 or 3 months that I had a 6-pack in the fridge every night that I would go through, and then it gravitated into more and more and more. And until I tried to stop again, and that's when it hit me that I couldn't stop. I distinctly remember the day that I was driving down the road and I passed a gas station, and I thought I should stop in and grab a Mike's Hard Lemonade. That was one of my go-tos, and just the desire to go get one was, you know, the craving, or whatever you want to call it, was so overwhelmingly strong, and it hit me at that moment that I couldn't stop if I wanted to. I mean, it had taken over me. It had really become a dependency issue. It was starting to get to the point, and it did finally get to a point where I would wake up in the morning and have the shakes, and especially on the weekends at first, I would have a couple drinks early in the morning on Saturday or Sunday just to calm my shakes down so that I could function a little bit. Having a hangover that bad that you have the shakes, I mean, that's a problem. And if that's you, then you know, it's time to stop. I mean, your body's telling you, it's giving you signs that, you know, this isn't good. I didn't heed those signs early enough, and yeah, it had a hold on me, and I couldn't stop on my own. And it affected my mental health. As I said, I was dealing with some depression and what was labeled as PTSD or whatever, and instead of treating it properly, I was self-medicating with drinking, and it finally got to a point where I became very suicidal and extremely serious about it one night. Somehow had a moment of clarity and contacted somebody, and I ended up spending a few days in a psychiatric hospital, in which I came out of that obviously sober for a few days, and went right back to lying to myself that, well, hey, I stopped for a few days, so, you know, I'm good, I've got it under control now, and went right back to my old ways. And again, that time it got an even stronger hold on me. Every time you stop and start again, the hold on you, it gets stronger. And then it got to a point where I was depressed about the fact that deep down inside I knew I had no control over this. And so I would drink about it to make myself feel better, which just intensified the hold that it had on me. It was an awful downward spiral, and you know, what ultimately led to my wife filing for divorce, kicking me out of the house. She wanted nothing to do with me anymore. I had kids that I didn't get to see every day anymore, and that brought on deeper depression. So I drank more about it until a short while later, I ended up in the hospital with pancreatitis, and the damage was severe enough that I spent a good deal of time in the hospital and came very close to death while I was there, and being told by the doctors probably the best and worst news that you can get is that if I drink again, that I would die for sure. It could be as little as one beer is what puts me in the grave, but if I drank again, I would surely be back in the hospital, and I wouldn't be able to leave next time. So, I mean, that was a huge wake-up call for me. everybody's rock bottom looks different. I would certainly have thought that my rock bottom would have been going through a divorce and not seeing my kids, but that wasn't even enough. I mean, it really took the fear of being on death's doorstep to finally wake me up and start being honest with myself that, yeah, okay, this is a problem, and this has to be addressed immediately. And I know some people might think that, yeah, okay, well, if I got a death sentence for if I drank again, that would be enough for me to quit too. But I can say that from experience of people that I know, that that's not even the case. I know more than one person who has gotten a similar message from their doctor, and they ended up drinking themselves to death anyway. So it takes a lot of self-reflection and honesty, no matter what your rock bottom is. I mean, you still have to put in the effort to get sober. So I guess, to kind of summarize things, whether it kills you physically or it just kills you mentally or kills relationships or other things in your life, if you are considering that maybe you have a problem, it is killing a part of you, and you need to do whatever it takes to stop. The little 3 steps that I gave in my last video are really just, they're not even scratching the surface. It's just, kind of a very brief overview of the top 3 things that worked for me. As I said before, I'm going to expand on what worked for me a lot more as I go along. I just wanted to put up something else, since I had said that I would share a little bit more about me if that first video got some response. So I hope in doing all this, it's obviously, having an alcohol problem is not something I'm proud of. I don't think anybody's real excited to say that, yeah, I'm an alcoholic. I'm proud to say that I don't drink anymore. But the purpose of this is not anything other than I hope that it helps somebody else. I know what it feels like to be a slave to a substance. And it's a depressing, scary, nasty place to be. And I really hope that if, even one person can be positively impacted by these videos, then it's worth me putting my face on the internet and telling my story. I want anybody who's in those shoes to be able to get out of it, and I will do whatever it takes to try to help as many people as I can get out of that stronghold of any addiction. So I hope this helps. Comment below, subscribe if you're not, so you can see I'm going to keep posting more about this and get deeper and deeper. And like I said, coming up here soon, I'm going to have a very good friend of mine do a video with me. He's a veteran, has all the reasons in the world to drink, and his life was severely impacted by it. And I think his story will be really impactful as well. So I appreciate anybody who watches this. I hope it helps you, and I appreciate you watching. Thank you.